Hi everyone, and welcome to an overview of comparing numbers. This is one of the interventions that have been created. There's several different ones in the series, and if this is something that you're new to, then all I'm going to do in the next maybe 5 minutes is step you through what you can expect to find on each of the slides, which may help just to maybe give you a better overview, but also to maybe zero in on a particular area if that's all you're looking for. So the very first slide that you will have, and they're always laid out the same, just tells you a little bit about what comparing numbers are. And everything is done in point form, it's succinct, and it just gives you an overview. You might be new to the grade, new to that area, new to that subject topic. And so this is all that this is designed to do. Below that, you'll find also where it covers that particular topic in your program of studies. A lot of teachers are asking, could you just identify where I'm covering and what it is that I'm actually going through, just so I know that I've met those outcomes. The next page looks at just a brief overview of why students actually struggle with comparing numbers. And again, this might be an area that you're familiar with, or maybe it's an area that you are again new to. It would give you some information that you may be able to identify some of the areas that students right now are demonstrating to that maybe you weren't aware of, or maybe an area that you want to add a little bit more into the teaching in the future because you now know these are areas that students struggle with. The next page will provide you with an opportunity for pre-assessment. So if you haven't already given a pre-assessment to really drill down to see where the students are at, you suspect something is not right, then what we've done is created a page for you of hopefully trying to target as many resources that are being used in the schools right now as possible. There's no intent for you to go out and buy anything. Wherever possible, we've tried to always grab sort of the free things that are available to you and those that are created by Alberta Education that match to the current curriculum as is. And that's what you'll always find in option number 1. If there is a planning guide, which were created by Alberta Education when your existing curriculum was written, were put out, then they contain pre-assessments. They are free of charge. And when you come into this document on the slide, everything that's underlined is a link, and you can just go directly to that document. If you have the pre-assessments and Nelson Leaps and Bounds, then option 2 will give you the reference pages that you could go to and what questions that you might like to look at for testing for comparing numbers. If you have mathology in your school, again, there's a reference in there. It'll tell you exactly which screen to click on, and just follow the links as you go along, and that should take you directly to the page for pre-assessment. And then lastly, Numeracy Nets, which is a document that was put out quite a few years ago, but a lot of schools still have it. It's a little coil book. It also had reference pages in it with lots of assessments that you could use as well. And we're going to reference that later on as well. The next page takes you to, now that I know what the problem is, how do I help the students? Like, what can I do? So if you don't have a lot of resources, there's 4 columns on the next page. The first column we tried, wherever possible, to keep directly for Alberta Education related resources. Again, if the planning guides are available, then they also have activities in them that are quite targeted for specific areas of comparing numbers. So you really do need to know what it is in the area of comparing numbers that they're faltering in. And then you can select the appropriate activity for it. You're by no means asked to do them all. There's also a counting one that you can click on here, and when you click that on, you'll get an entire file of additional files of interventions that you can use that were created by the Calgary Regional Consortium. The next 3 columns are generally kept aside for either links that are different from Alberta Education ones. They're places that the authors have found that would give you some extra resources, or they're just additions to Mathology or Nelson resources that you've already had. So you just need to go through those and have a look and see what it is that would fit your bill. In any case, I would suggest downloading as many of those as possible and just keeping them in your toolbox for future use. You don't have to use everything right now. At the bottom, you see that there's an ask and listen for, and that was a request from teachers again, like, I'm not sure what I would be listening for kids to tell me that they've got it. because if they've got it, we don't always have to do a paper and pencil test afterwards. It could just be an oral that you're hearing, they consistently get it correct, then you know they've got it, let's move on. If you do want a paper and pencil test, there is a post-assessment in the planning guides, and the red links that are listed here give you either a small group or large group assessment, depending on what your needs are. If you've just got a couple of kids that you're working with, or you want to do it with the whole class. The next page are screenshots from the pre-assessments, and so you'll see that there's one that's labeled kindergarten, grade 1, and grade 2. And on each of those pages, you have references to resources that would be in the building, a variety of different resources. So hopefully something that's listed there would be there, including Prime, which is one of them. That's also an older program, but an excellent one. That's a great one for resources, as is for Steps in Math. That's also listed in here as well. Your next page is that for just the teachers. It is not for the student. It is if you want a little bit more information about comparing numbers and just a little more background of it. Maybe you're new to the grade or just new to the profession and you want just a little bit more. There's lots there. But again, those are links that I would even suggest downloading and just having them in your toolbox for future use when you go in and teach. References are contained on the next 2 pages, and that takes us to the end of our intervention. So hopefully when you have a chance to go through and unpack this, you will find something that's helpful for you. Thanks, everyone.